as soon as you get out the military, your first job is probably not going to be the job you're looking for. I
Right.
mean, but be willing to go through that learning process because if you think about your military career, no matter if it's 2 years, 20 years, or you've been in it for a full 30 years, it took you a long time to really, really understand your job.
Welcome to the Seven Eagle Group podcast, your home for inspiring stories, valuable tips, and great advice from hard-charging veterans so you can lead a more rewarding and lucrative post-military career.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's Jordy from Seven Eagle Group. I got a great guest today, just an amazing guy. Served in the United States Army as a medical specialist, did a tour in Europe. Born in my home state of New York, grew up in South Carolina. Now he's out of North Carolina. He works as the Chief Business Development Officer at a company called Solutions Afoot, which is a software development company. And then he also wrote a book, which is for all those entrepreneurs out there. We're going to get into all this stuff. So, Nike Roach, thank you so
Hey,
much for taking time today, man.
hey, brother, how you doing, Jordy? It's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be in your space and help some of your listeners and viewers.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot to us. So let's start at the beginning, man. What growing up in South Carolina, what made you decide to enlist in the army?
Well, interesting enough, I didn't join the army until I went to North Carolina. My mom and dad separated,
Oh,
as they do. And then growing up in rural South Carolina, I learned a lot of core principles of who you are, foundation, community, small town, feeling everybody knows each other, the good, bad, and the ugly. And then when my we moved to a rough side, with divorces, the kids sometimes are the consequences. And my mom was forced into move into a very uh depressed, I don't want to say depressed, but a
yeah.
challenging part of the town. There's a lot of
Right.
crime, a lot of drugs, a lot of all that stuff. And there were a couple options: either go to prison, you go to the grave, you go to college, or you join the military. So my grades were a little interesting, to say the least, in high school. So I joined the military, and the Army Med Corps was very attractive to me, and I still feel very privileged that I was allowed to share my time in
That's
service.
awesome. How do you think that made you the man you are today? Like, what are some of your favorite lessons that you took away from serving?
Things that the systems, the military has a unique, history of systems and how do you march, how do
Mm,
you look back, cover and fire, digging. Things are simple like foxholes, but also understanding honor and understanding brotherhood or sisterhood, if you will, and understanding that you're responsible for somebody just like they're responsible for you. And being in Med Corps, if everybody doesn't do what they're supposed to do, people die.
yeah.
And sometimes, in combat, which, I did a tour in the Persian Gulf. In combat, things happen, people die, but if you do your part and others do their part, then you minimize that. And that's the same thing that I try to apply to my life as well as business.
Good lessons. Good. And so you got out, and I think the theme in your career was healthcare, helping others. Talk a little bit about some of the initial positions that you held and why you decided to go down that path.
Interesting enough, coming straight out of MedCorps, my first job, I guess, out of MedCorps was not in healthcare. It's sort of I went back into healthcare. Um, it was, doing something not even exciting. Education. I worked
Yeah.
in a children's home, and again, it's still the same idea.
Yeah.
But along the way, I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to use my medical experience. And at first, I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist, and then I started saying, well, I have pretty good hands. God gave me hands to apply my touch, and so I pivoted because I had some time, and I said, let me just go into holistic medicine, and I went into that. Jumped into that full hand from nutrition to structural integration, massage therapy, all that kind of fun stuff. And then I started a company, and it's still running today, and it's still very successful. Fortunately, I'm not the principal in that one anymore. I allowed smarter hands to prevail, but I'm still very active, and I guess I'm the emeritus chairman for that organization. But I no longer are in the day-to-day operations.
That's great. And that was a business in the wellness space, or?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And interesting enough, that business does a lot of work with veterans,
Hmm.
specifically related to service-connected injuries and just everything from PTSD to musculoskeletal conditions to, IBS. There's a whole host of things that we approach to help the veteran who's been service-connected or not even service-connected
Yeah,
to improve the quality of their lives, regardless if they're going to be here, you know, couple years or many
yeah.
years because we,
Good
we
for
come in
you.
contact with veterans who are quite long in the tooth, and we
Yeah,
we we have folks who just got out, say
yeah, yeah.
6, 7 years ago.
Good for you, man. You must be very proud of starting that, and then the fact that it's still going and
Still running strong. It's
impacting so many lives. So
yes, yes,
thank you
sir.
for that. Now, let's talk about this book you wrote, 52 Ways to Fund Your Home Business Even If You're Broke. How in the world did you pivot from a wellness career to writing a book for entrepreneurs?
Well, it's all about business. I believe, to me, core functions of our country is the application of businesses, and I always go back to the core functions of the foundations of our country. Although a lot of people didn't look like me back then, if you look at the core foundations, they were all business people. They were just upset with the government, if you will, that
Right.
were, doing some things that they didn't agree with, so they banded together and formed this United States. So when I was in the marketing space, which I still am, I was in a line. Interesting enough, I was in a training line. One of the lines was like 10,000 people, and you're just getting ready for it. And you start looking around, and you keep hearing, "Oh, I can't start this business because whatever reason, I don't look right. I'm the wrong color. I'm the wrong gender. Whatever. I mean, I'm the wrong religion. I can't speak well." And then I started thinking, okay, what are some of the things that a lot of people think about? They're like, okay, money. Ironically, that's not the biggest problem, but it's the thing people think about. How do you fund a business, which is important, but in the country, in the context of the Western society, funding is really not the issue. It's other things. So the idea was to come up with things that, 52 ways to fund your home business. You broke? You don't have many friends, and your credit sucks. So even with that, every day, not every day, but let's say within reason, I read articles about people who come from that very similar background and they still have that objection and they still continue to run. So that doesn't matter if you're talking about trying to get access to $2,000 or $10 million. Doesn't really matter. The core principles are there, and there are people and their organizations, their institutions, who will invest in you if you have some core principles and you have a unique service or product that the market is looking for.
Yeah,
There are probably hundreds of examples of folks who started businesses on food stamps,
yeah,
folks who started businesses donating parts of their body like hair. It's just even some of the weirdest things I found, and I know it's a little unethical. I found some drug dealers just when I was young who started very successful business enterprises outside of their illegitimate activities.
yeah.
I mean, I don't advise people to get involved with anything unethical, illegal, or immoral, but lessons are lessons, regardless of the business.
The grit and the toughness, that obsession to be successful and not let anything get in your way, you figure it out, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Talk,
sir.
because so many veterans do want to go down that entrepreneurial path. They do want to you know, put bet on themselves, not bet on some employer. Where can people find that book? Is it available?
Yeah, it's pretty much available. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes and Noble. So grab a copy. It's an easy read. I always like to say you can sit in the latrine and just read it. It is super fast. There's nothing complex about it. It's it's
Nice.
it's designed to be very simple. Some of the things are gonna be like, oh, that's stupid. Like, it doesn't matter. The book's purpose was not to be you can find probably other resources. It was not to be the definitive Bible on funding.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just a way to get your brain started.
That's
A,
great.
a good example is, if you're saying, okay, I need some funds. I need just simple funds. And one of its simple ideas is borrowing small amounts of money from friends and family. I know that sounds weird, but because in you got banks and all the other stuff, but I saw somebody use this is pre, sort of crowdfunding. And I'm not too crazy about crowdfunding. I'm relationship funding. So
Mhm.
crowdfunding is put on something out there that's all great. And, you put it on the website and there are various databases and software that can help you with that. I'm talking about local, grassroots funding for local operations because the people know you. And you
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm gonna borrow $100 from this person or 1,000 from this particular group. And you form a mutually beneficial pact. It's not like borrowing from a strange,
Right.
no-face institution. It's people you know who have a vested interest in your success. And these people will support you. They will buy from you. So it's not just borrowing money from, just small group or core group. I mean, it could be 10 people or 100 people. It doesn't really matter. And some are going to tell you no. But if you understand the principles that even when you're a borrower, interesting enough, some of my best business were people who served me as my banker. I mean, seriously, you would think, why would you banker? I've gotten so much business from the banker because
Wow.
I treat them like a professional, but also treat them as a friend. So if I say,
Right.
hey, can you go help another friend of mine who's a business owner? Even if their credit may be a little, they'll go there, and if they can't work with them, they'll give them the various steps they have to make to make it within their organization standards. So as long
Yeah.
as you live by honor and respect and mutual understanding, I think you'd be okay.
To go. So it's sort of like just doing the easy things, you know. You
It's
don't
the easy thing.
doesn't have to don't complicate
Don't complicate it. Don't.
it.
I mean, I have to sit there and like, oh, no, I'm like, seriously. I
Yeah.
it's always like, somebody once insulted the book, said, this is so like basic. I said, oftentimes when you went in the military, it's the first thing you need to do is to learn how to do right, left, right, left, right, left.
Right.
Some basic things.
Yeah.
Just those simple things get you to move to either started. I mean, one of the funniest things, I'll give you an example, was the guy who started Starbucks. People think, oh my God, he did this. The guy was a New Yorker, interesting enough,
Oh,
another New
yeah.
Yorker, go figure.
Yeah.
He started his business with a borrow from his wife's friend.
Yeah.
That was it. That he needed that engine, and the company has gone on to create millions and billions of dollars and have jobs in multi territories. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's just a small kick you need to get
Little
your
bit.
business
Yeah.
moving.
Cool. We'll put the link to Amazon in the comments here. So everyone definitely check that out if you want some great advice from a guy who's been around the block and has done it a few times. So
Just
that's
a, just
great.
a little.
Just a little. Hey, talk a little bit about Solutions Afoot, software development. Talk, what does the company do? Who are your customers? What is your role with them?
I, Solutions Afoot, as I talked to before we got on camera, was started by Josh Sheminsky, another New Yorker, interesting enough. We build custom software applications and solutions for both government entities, but not as much, but we do more for enterprise and small mom and pop. So everything from HR, as we alluded
Mhm.
to healthcare, to aviation. Sometimes it's working with another piece of software to be able to, get them to talk to each other and work more smoothly. Other times is they build to a standalone
Yeah,
because we're near shore, and that's different than offshore. A lot of people don't know what that means. Near shore means we build it here domestically. We don't offshore anything in our business. It won't go abroad. It won't go to Asia, and it won't go to Europe. It stays right here in North America because, for security purposes, integrity, and a couple other reasons we do that. And also because all of our builders are, not with the exception of maybe two of them, are away from larger cities. We did that strategically. When you're dealing with a Silicon Valley or New York City, case in point, the price of development goes up exponentially because the market will dictate. Because our developers are in rural towns and places that are outside, they don't have that big, I got to make a whole bunch of money to satisfy my needs. So we can be a lot more cost effective for builders, either a mom and pop or a large enterprise, because it doesn't cost as much. The other side is we build under a Caspio platform, and you can look at Caspio as kind of the shell that we run from. The advantage of that is faster to deployment. It's less expensive, and you don't have to pay extra seats. Seats meaning every time you add another team member to that, you have to pay a monthly fee. When we build your platform, you don't have to pay those extra seats. You just pay for one seat, and it doesn't matter if your company has 10 people in it or 1,000 people in it.
yeah,
You don't have to pay those things. And so we're really good at deploying because all the principals are former business owners. We understand business. And so that when we get together, it's not just, hey, I have a particular solution out there for the marketplace. We use our own experience to help the principal, like a person like yourself, to shape that piece of solution so that you can deploy it, so that you can make money, work on passion projects, because we do a lot of nonprofit stuff too. So it's not always about how many millions and billions you can create. Sometimes it's how many people can we serve more effectively and more efficiently. And that's what we do at Solutions Afoot.
How do you like working in the tech space and sales? And would you recommend this career for other veterans?
Absolutely. It is
Yeah.
so much fun. It's fun, but there's a learning curve if you didn't come from. I believe that if you're not in the tech space, that's probably the best attribute, is because you have to learn. You can't come in there with your intrinsic knowledge of API, of coding. You have to
Right.
learn it. And when you don't know something, you have to work hard at learning it.
Yeah.
It doesn't come natural. I come from healthcare, but I understand systems, I understand triaging. And so when I come into a space for an organization, I simply triage. I look and see what are the problems, what are solutions, and how to deploy that back into the market space, that works for you. So it's
Nice.
fun. I would recommend it's you have to have some thick skin. I'll give you that, because sometimes there's a lot of no's. But one of the benefits of development, sales, call it what it will, is that you are the engine that runs every organization.
Yeah,
If
no
you're
doubt.
not out there,
Nothing's happening.
beating the bush, getting people to get excited about, what they're building,
Right.
then no organization, no matter if it's a McDonald's or United States Department of Veterans Affairs. I'll give you an example. Right now, sales in the United States Army are down. And I'll tell you what
Yeah.
that means. The recruiting is down.
Yeah.
So they have to pivot their marketing strategy to bring more customers, that would be
Right.
recruits, into United States Army. So the people whose job is to recruit, they're on your development team. If you're a recruiter and you're a military recruiter, dude, you are like some of the best people for this industry. So if you like, oh, I was a recruiter, I worked in development, I did all this stuff, you are the perfect person, because you understand numbers, you understand people, and you're trying to encourage kids and parents to
Right.
send their kids off to danger.
Right.
That takes a
Hard
special
sell.
gift, brother. That's a very hard sell. But if you can do that,
Yeah, you can sell.
brothers and sisters, you are gangster.
Yeah. What are some of your, give me some of your favorite tips or suggestions that you would give, especially to the transitioning service members who are, about to make this huge career pivot? What's some career advice you might have for these men and women as they head out?
Get out early. I mean, not get out the military early, but
Yeah.
get out and learn and be willing to adjust. As soon as you get out the military, your first job is probably not going to be the job you're looking for. I
Right.
mean, but be willing to go through that learning process, because if you think about your military career, no matter if it's 2 years, 20 years, or you've been in there for a full 30 years, it took you a long time to really, really understand your job. I don't care if you went to AIT, or you went to your school, or you went to basic or boot camp. It took you a while. And I remember when I went to Army med school, and the teacher, it was the E7 and they were like, oh, learn how to do, how to do a sucking chest wound, or how to run an IV. And I'm like, dude, I'm not really good. Don't worry about it. When you get your permanent duty time, you get plenty of practice. And that's
Right.
sort of like when you're getting into the marketplace. It's, yeah, when you first get out, it's gonna feel a little odd to you. But if you do it more and more, and be willing to adapt and overcome, and even be willing to look at some other options,
Yeah.
I think service members bring a unique perspective. Like I said, honor, ethics, code, willingness, adjustment to uncomfortable situations that every institution can benefit from. No matter if we're talking about going to work for the VA, or you're talking about working for a Fortune 500, or oddly enough, I find some unique veteran, like a perfect example. One of my neighbors has a lawn care business. It's a veteran guy. He was a Navy guy. He did some stuff in logistics. Why would he start a lawn care business?
Yeah.
Well, because he likes what he does, but he had to pivot a few times. And
Get there. Yeah.
give yourself some time to pivot.
Freedom. Freedom
Yeah,
to
the
explore.
freedom
Yeah.
the freedom to screw up if you don't
Yeah.
if it's not a good fit, be willing to tell the organization, it's not a good fit. I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep on working on it.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You are a good dude, man. I appreciate Nike, everything you're doing for your military brothers and sisters and your willingness to give back. And I coid tell you care deeply, and that
I
shows
do.
it's
I
showing in
do.
them, you
It,
know.
interesting. Let me finish with this one thing, and it was so funny. I had been part of nonprofits for many years,
Mhm.
being on the boards and everything like that. And one day, I had this interesting idea about serving veterans in Gulf War space because we realized it's a large group of people, the largest military component since World War II. Meaning,
Right.
we have people started back in 91, all the way to 2021. That was the Gulf War space. That's a lot of service members you have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I did, we just said let's have this coffee. We get together, we talk about veterans issues, blah blah blah. And I was stuck because it could never grow. And because I had a couple other operations. What this Gunny came around and said he was retired from out of the Corps and did some other stuff in nonprofit. Let's make it official. And we started a nonprofit. So
Wow.
sometimes when you're going along the way, you end up realizing that your connection to the military, and I've been out of the military for, it's hard for me to remember how many years it's been, but your connection to the military and its community is always there. And that
Yeah.
community shares dividends, you know, 32 years later that
Yeah, no
you
doubt.
totally forgot about, and even cross branches. So I'm
Right.
Army. We have people in the Air Force, Coast Guards. It's just a whole swath of people who have so much in common and such differences, but we work like the military. We don't always have the same job, but we have a core mission to serve the people in our community or our population.
I love it. I love it. Hey, would it be all right if anyone watching reaches out to you if they want to chat, any of the vets or
Yeah, please do.
have them?
I am almost always available. If you want to reach out to me, you can go through our Solutions Afoot website
Yeah,
because I'm the development director. Every inquiry that comes through our website comes through my
thanks
desk. It
you.
goes to the
Oh,
rest
that's
of the
good.
team too, but I get CC'd on everything. And if
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
veteran, yeah, I'd be happy to reach out to it.
Oh man, you're a good man. Thank you again for taking time today to share your story and offer some advice. Truly appreciate that.
You're welcome, brother. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the population, the unique audience that you serve.
Appreciate it. You're welcome.